shortly, but I'll call the meeting to order. We'll note that everyone's present, but we're having communication difficulties with Carol, and we also have one guest in attendance, and that's one of our trustees. And so the first item on the agenda is the minutes of our previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll support the motion.
Okay, is that motion, any questions on that motion?
No.
Those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. I should actually do a roll call. Sorry about that. Rich, are you in favor? Or
yes.
Jim, in favor or opposed? Yes or no?
In favor, yes.
And Carol, I'm assuming, has no audio. Okay, so we'll record that. The next item on the agenda is the request for a liquor license application. It's a recommendation to the Township Board for Posh Nail and Spa. And this is kind of be the first request we've had for this particular type of use. Is there any questions or comments on the request, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend to the Township Board that I think we have to hold a public hearing, isn't that correct?
Correct.
And for Posh Nails and Spa, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
You know, I'll support the recommendation to hold a public hearing, but I still would like to have some discussion on the matter.
Yeah, I have, I think one of the questions that did come up was what type of license this entails. And also, I guess it would be either an amendment to the motion, or at least I want to point out that I personally believe that we should limit these type of license to perhaps a maximum of 5, so that we don't have, well, anyway, those are my issues. Not fully really knowing exactly which type we have. Obviously, we have a lot of licenses available, and we'll have more after the census, but I would want to limit this type to these type of establishments, limit it to a maximum of 5. Those are my initial comments.
I'm on
Looks
now.
like we gotcha.
Oh, there's Carol.
Excellent. So Carol, we're just talking about the liquor license request from Posh. There's basically a motion that we talked about right now, recommending to the board to schedule that public hearing.
Okay.
So looking at setting a limit of these type of licenses to 5 max. It's kind of what the discussion is right now.
Okay, support.
Yeah, there's no motion on the question of 5 yet, but I'm wondering, as it relates to this, Dan, help clarify for me, because I know in our particular form it didn't specify, as Rich was saying, or if it did, I missed it, the type of license. I want to understand better here in this application the difference between a situation like this and, for example, the Michigan moonshine or something, where there's no food being sold. I believe, you know, when it comes to the golf course and somebody wants to have a drink afterward or whatever, they've got their license, but they also have a restaurant. Have we any establishment in the township that allows you just to serve by the glass to your customers as an accessory to the service that you provide them?
Well, for example, Rebounders, but they do serve food, but they're using the whole other issue as, you know, part of that establishment. So we do have the power to allow other uses to count for their, 50% of revenue from other sources, essentially. So that would be the case for this one, if you did want to grant this.
So Rebounders, we distinguish by the fact, and the golf course at Wallingwood and so on, by the fact that they sell food. And I know about our 50% rule, but in each instance, there's some additional sale of food to accompany the potential for the purchase of drinks. It seems to me here we've got someone coming in for a nail salon, and they simply serve you a drink while you're getting your nails done, which I'm sure for people who enjoy that, they probably love it. But I just wonder how that could be distinguished from previous positions or decisions we've made or our current policy. How could we permit them to just simply serve beer and wine, you know?
The only difference is that it would be the caveat that it would be less than half their revenue. Below.
So we'd have to make an exception. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying our ordinance allows, when it's less than half their revenue, allows other things to be included in the other half, like rebounders is counting their other admission fees.
I see.
The impression that they're giving it away as part of their other services as opposed to just outright selling it. But I don't like that answer, but that's the impression I've received, that they wish to allow that as for different parties or different activities as part of a party package of some sort.
Right. I hesitate. I'm sorry. Others, did I hear Rich's voice? Or
No,
I wonder their location in Byron Center. I have no doubt probably in Grand Rapids that they are able to do this, right? It didn't say in this application whether Byron Center permits this or if they're just simply saying we operate in Byron Center and we operate in Grand Rapids. Any idea?
I read it as they operate in Byron Center and Grand Rapids, but I didn't get the impression that either one of those that they have beer and wine.
So when you went to get your nails done in Byron Center, they didn't serve you anything, Rich? Or
No. But I
Okay.
got my pedicure.
Did we find out
so
about Granville's?
they don't have one in Granville.
They don't
Oh,
have
they
one in Granville.
Oh.
Granville didn't, the assistant manager there wasn't sure what type of license was the question we were looking at, but no, so we don't have any information from them for how
Okay.
one facility.
So help distinguish between the right to a public hearing and the right of the board to make a determination, excuse me, of whether or not to approve of such a use. Because I'm hesitant about the use, but I'm not sure that I have the right to object to there being a public hearing. I'm throwing that out there.
Well, these are all legal questions that, we haven't had our own board challenge whether we do this. We don't have to issue liquor licenses for any use. The board established this process prior to issuing a liquor license that you'd have to have this process. But if you want to stop it on the earlier end, it would, I don't see that there's any requirement. We'd have to look. We established a process where they apply, we have a public hearing, and then the board decides. I'm not sure why we from that process, but
I guess for me, it'd be less about this particular user, which I don't expect they're going to give you more than one drink. It costs them money. It just relaxes somebody where they're having their service. But it does make it more difficult then as you get a request from, I don't know, the sporting goods store, or the whatever to say, oh, as part of what we're doing too, we'd like to draw people in by offering them a free drink. I'm not crazy about it personally.
My concern too would just be, if there's like a wedding party and if there would be some that are underage, are they going to be checking IDs? I guess that's kind of my concern.
Of course, checking IDs, if obviously they would lose their license if they were caught doing that. But I believe that we should move it to the board. I think it'd be a good discussion to have, because my sense is that this probably is going to be an issue for other businesses. I don't know that, but I think so I would like to know what the mind and the thinking of the other board members, what they're thinking about this and how they would interpret all of this. And by that time, we might have some more information regarding the type.
Is there questions you'd like to have answered from the applicant that we could submit to them to have answered prior to the board meeting?
Well, here's my question, Dan. That is, must we begin with a public hearing, or may we first bring it to an agenda on our board meeting to discuss this use in general, not this particular location, but this type of use? And then based on that discussion and the perspective of the board, if it's for it, excuse me, then I suppose you set a public hearing the next time around, as opposed to getting the hopes of the applicant up and having him there present, maybe even bringing his attorney or who knows what. before we even have tested the temperature of the board.
Okay. Anything else?
I'd like to see that too. Maybe bring it to the board members first, and then if it sounds like it's going to be approved, then have the hearing after that.
Okay.
When you say after that, meaning at a different meeting, not immediately on the heels of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any questions for the applicant that you'd like to have addressed? How they're gonna use it or what they're proposing?
How about a couple of basic ones? One, have you been turned down anywhere else that you've requested? I'm curious. I know we aren't governed by other communities, but I'd like to know that. I guess two, I'd like to know, do they serve at their establishment environment center? I think we're a comparable community. Third, I'd like to know if they have some sort of a limitation. You know, what is their limitation on the number of drinks a customer can have? I'm sure they're going to say one, but I'd like to make them say so. And maybe fourth would be to say, how do you check, as Rich brought up, or maybe it was Carol, I guess, what is your process for checking, you know, age? Does that mean you have everyone present their license? I suppose they do, and that's not that hard to do, but those are basic questions.
Okay. Anything else? Now we have a motion made to recommend to the board to schedule the public hearing right now. Rich also talked about limiting this type of license to a maximum of 5 in the township. I don't know if that wants to be part of the motion or if you want to pursue on that.
Yes.
I want to go to the board right now.
I would add that to my motion.
Are you comfortable with that, Jim?
No, I think the motion's been cast as a public hearing motion, which I seconded earlier, but I would recast it as a motion to move it as an item of a discussion to the board agenda to just, you know, again, test the opinions of the board.
Well, I have a motion. I guess the question is, are you withdrawing those motions?
I can't withdraw a motion I didn't make, I don't think, but I would ask Rich to consider it. Yeah.
No, I'm still good with the motion.
Okay.
I'm withdrawing my support. How's that?
I don't think you can.
Can we amend the motion or not?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Jim, maybe you could amend it.
No, let's just take a vote on it. And if it goes down 2-1, I'll make a new one.
Okay.
Okay. On the motion right now is to recommend to the township board to schedule a public hearing on the application. I'm going to do a roll call vote at this point. If you can signify by saying yes or no. Rich?
I think Rich should be recused from this vote because he goes there for his nails, and I think he's got to.
I would say yes.
I'll say no.
Okay.
I'll say no.
Yes. So it's defeated.
All right, my motion is this. My motion would be to place before the board as an agenda item at our next board meeting or the one after. I don't care, but I guess this next one seems close enough in proximity to discuss the nature and the use or approval of liquor licenses in the township and whether we wish to curtail or limit or permit or even altogether deny uses that are simply an accessory to a general service. And I realize in the context that I know, cut this part off in the motion, but I realize in the context of such a discussion, we have to recognize that Rebounders is an example of a place that we have permitted. I think we'd have to discuss whether we want to distinguish between those places that serve food or don't. But the pithy part of my motion is a motion to place this as a discussion item before the board.
Support. I don't hear any support.
I said support.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
So we have that motion before you. Is there any questions on the motion just to bring it for discussion to the board? Okay, I'm going to again do a roll call for the yes or no, please, bring it to the board for their discussion. Jim?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
That motion is carried. So we will bring it to the board just to the discussion without any recommendations. The next item on the agenda is communications, letters, and reports. And we do have one, just a note there from our Perpetual Care Investment Fund showing that the investments, they're stipulating that all the investments have made the requirements that we set forth before them. Is there any questions on that?
Not for me.
No.
Not for
And the
me.
next item is public comments, and we just have Mike. I don't know if Mike has a question. I know we had this issue with services about board members and the right number. So Mike, raise your hand if there's a question. Seeing that none, I'm going to go on to any other business before the committee.
None that I'm aware of.
Not for me.
No.
Okay. Seeing the business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I would make the motion to
Is there
adjourn.
support?
Support.
Okay, again, I'll do a roll call on the motion to adjourn. Rich,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
and Jim.
Yes.
And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.